A single rumor can travel across the world faster than truth can put its shoes on. And in the last few days, social media has been shaken by claims so dramatic that it immediately exploded into millions of shares, comments, and debates. A story suggesting that a high-profile figure from Dubai's royal circles had allegedly banned Meghan Markle with one shocking phrase attached to it: "You are not welcome." No official statement, no verified source, just fragments of posts, blurred screenshots, and viral captions spreading like wildfire across platforms. But here's where things become more complicated and far more interesting. Because in the modern digital world, a story doesn't need to be true to become powerful. It just needs to feel true. And this one felt explosive. Meghan Markle, already one of the most discussed public figures in the world, once again found herself at the center of a global conversation. Supporters rushed to defend her. Critics amplified the claims. And neutral observers were left asking one simple question: what is actually going on here? To understand this viral moment, we need to step back from the noise and look at how stories like this are born in the first place. It often starts quietly. A post, a comment, a short clip taken out of context, sometimes even pure speculation written as if it were fact. Then something happens. The algorithm picks it up. Engagement grows. Emotions spike. And suddenly, what was once a random claim becomes a global headline in the eyes of the internet. That is exactly what appears to have happened here. The phrase "Dubai royal bans Meghan Markle" began circulating in different variations across social platforms. Some posts framed it as a diplomatic issue. Others turned it into a cultural clash narrative. And some simply used it as a dramatic clickbait hook to drive attention. But nowhere in the early spread of this story was there a verified statement confirming it. Still, the internet didn't wait. Because in the attention economy, speed often matters more than accuracy. And Meghan Markle's name has always been a lightning rod for attention. Every appearance she makes, every interview, every rumor connected to her, it all gets amplified at an extraordinary scale. So when this alleged ban narrative surfaced, it didn't just trend, it erupted. Within hours, comment sections turned into battlefields. Some users insisted the claim was evidence of ongoing royal tensions extending beyond the UK. Others dismissed it as pure fabrication designed to stir controversy. And in the middle, millions of viewers simply watched, confused by how quickly the story escalated. But here's the key question that almost nobody paused to ask. Where did this actually come from? Because when investigators began tracing the origin of the claim, something important emerged. There was no official announcement, no confirmed royal statement, no credible news agency reporting it as fact. Instead, the narrative appeared to originate from loosely connected social media posts, which were then repeated, rephrased, and amplified across multiple platforms. In other words, this was not a breaking news event. It was a viral chain reaction. And yet, the emotional impact was real. To understand why, you have to understand how modern audiences consume controversy. We don't just watch stories anymore. We react to them instantly. We share before verifying. We comment before confirming. And we form opinions in seconds. That creates a perfect environment for rumors to thrive, especially when they involve public figures like Meghan Markle, who already exist in the center of global attention. Every rumor attached to her name carries built-in momentum. But there's another layer to this story that makes it even more powerful: the royal element. Anything involving royalty immediately adds weight, mystery, and authority in the public imagination. It creates a sense of hidden power structures, private decisions, and exclusive worlds that ordinary people rarely see. So when the words "Dubai Royal" entered the narrative, the story instantly became more cinematic in the minds of viewers. It wasn't just gossip anymore. It became a perceived geopolitical drama. Even though, again, there was no verified evidence supporting the claim. At this point, experts in media literacy often point out a critical issue. The internet does not always distinguish between reported and suggested. If something is repeated enough times, it begins to feel established, even when it isn't. And that is where misinformation can quietly grow. But this situation also reveals something deep about audience psychology. People are not just reacting to Meghan Markle herself. They are reacting to the idea of conflict, exclusion, and status tension. These are emotionally charged themes that naturally attract attention. And social media platforms are designed to prioritize exactly that kind of engagement. So the question becomes less about whether the rumor is true, and more about why it spread so fast in the first place. Because in reality, the structure of the internet rewards controversy far more than clarity. A calm explanation rarely goes viral, but a dramatic claim with emotional language, that spreads instantly. And that brings us back to the so-called banned rumor. As fact-checkers and analysts examined the situation, what became increasingly clear was that there was no substantiated evidence behind the claim. No confirmed meeting, no official diplomatic statement, no verified news report, just viral interpretation. But by the time that clarification began circulating, the original story had already reached millions. And in digital culture, correction rarely travels as fast as the original claim. This is why narratives like this are so difficult to contain. Once an idea enters the public imagination, it develops a life of its own. People begin adding context that was never there. Speculation turns into assumption. Assumption turns into fact in conversation. And before long, the original source becomes irrelevant. Only the story remains. But what makes this particular case interesting is not just the rumor itself. It's the pattern it represents. A pattern where high-profile individuals become recurring characters in viral storytelling, regardless of whether the events are real. Meghan Markle, in this context, becomes less of a person in a specific situation and more of a symbol used in ongoing internet narratives about royalty, fame, and public scrutiny. That is why every new claim attached to her spreads so quickly. It fits into an existing mental framework already built in the audience's mind. And that framework is constantly reinforced by social media cycles. So what actually happened here? Not a royal ban, not an official diplomatic incident, but something more modern and arguably more revealing. A viral rumor collided with public fascination, algorithmic amplification, and emotional storytelling. And together, they created a moment that felt like breaking news to millions of people around the world. Even though it was never confirmed as fact, this is the new reality of information, where perception often arrives before truth, and where stories can become global events without ever being real events at all. So when we ask the question, what really happened? The most accurate answer is not found in a headline. It is found in understanding how quickly the internet can turn speculation into spectacle, and how easily attention can transform uncertainty into belief. Because in the end, the most powerful force online is not truth. It is momentum. And once momentum takes over, even the quietest rumor can sound like breaking news heard around the world. And this is exactly why the situation deserves attention beyond just entertainment. Because whether you support Meghan Markle or not, whether you believe royal narratives or not, the real issue here is not about one person. It is about how information itself behaves in the digital age. Every second, thousands of posts are published across platforms like X, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And within that massive flow of content, only a small fraction is verified before it spreads. The rest relies on something far more powerful than verification. It relies on emotion. And emotion is exactly what drives stories like this to the top of trending charts. Think about it. A calm headline like, "No evidence found for alleged royal claim," barely gets attention. But a dramatic one like, "Dubai royal bans Meghan Markle in shocking move," instantly triggers curiosity, shock, and debate. That difference is everything in today's attention economy. And this is why the same story can appear in completely different forms depending on where you see it. One version calls it a confirmed incident. Another calls it a rumor. And another frames it as a question being asked by the internet. But all three might be talking about the exact same source. Nothing verified at all. Now, as this particular Meghan Markle ban narrative continued to circulate, something even more interesting happened. The story began evolving. People started adding new layers that were never part of the original claim. Some suggested diplomatic tension. Others connected it to previous royal controversies. And some even linked it to completely unrelated events just to make the narrative feel more complete. This is what researchers call narrative inflation. A small idea grows larger and more detailed with each retelling, until eventually the story becomes more elaborate than its original source ever was. And at that point, it stops being information. It becomes folklore of the internet age. But here's the critical point many viewers miss. The speed of a story does not equal its truth. Just because something is everywhere does not mean it is accurate. It only means it is engaging. And engagement is what platforms are designed to reward. This is why celebrity-related rumors spread faster than almost anything else online. Because they combine three powerful triggers: fame, conflict, and mystery. When you combine those three, you get maximum viral potential. And Meghan Markle's public profile naturally sits at the center of that triangle, not because of any single event, but because of continuous global attention over many years. That's why even unverified claims attached to her name gain immediate traction. But as viewers, this creates an important challenge. We are constantly consuming stories faster than we can verify them. And in that gap between consumption and verification, rumors thrive. Now, coming back to the Dubai royal ban narrative specifically, analysts and media observers who examine the spread of this claim notice a consistent pattern. No original source could be traced. No official channel confirmed it. And no reputable news organization reported it as fact. Instead, the story appeared to grow through repetition across user-generated content. Short posts turned into screenshots. Screenshots turned into videos. Videos turned into commentary. And commentary turned into accepted truth for some audiences. This chain reaction is not unique to this story. It is happening constantly across the internet. But what makes this case notable is how quickly it escalated globally. Within a very short time, the narrative crossed platforms, languages, and regions. People who had no prior context about the claim were suddenly reacting to it as if it were established news. And that is where the illusion of credibility is created. Because when something feels widespread enough, it starts to feel real. But widespread is not the same as verified. And this distinction is becoming one of the most important digital literacy skills of our time. So what should viewers actually take away from this? Not skepticism toward everything, but awareness of how quickly narratives can form without evidence. Because the real story here is not whether a royal figure banned anyone. The real story is how easily modern audiences can be pulled into emotionally charged narratives before facts are established. And that is a pattern that extends far beyond a single topic. It applies to politics, entertainment, finance, and global news. Any space where attention is valuable becomes a space where exaggeration can thrive. Now, as this video comes to its final perspective, it is important to return to the core question: what really happened? The most accurate answer, based on available information, is this: a viral rumor circulated online, gained traction through repetition, and evolved into a dramatic narrative without verified evidence confirming its claims. That is it. No confirmed royal statement. No verified diplomatic action. Just digital amplification of an unverified story. But the impact of that rumor is still real, because millions of people engaged with it, discussed it, shared it, and formed opinions based on it, which shows something important. In the digital world, perception often travels faster than truth, and sometimes perception becomes a story itself. So the next time a dramatic headline appears, especially one that feels shocking, emotional, or unbelievable, it is worth asking one simple question before reacting. Is this information, or just momentum? Because in today's internet landscape, understanding that difference might be the most powerful tool a viewer can have. And that is the real lesson behind this entire viral moment. Not a royal ban, not a confirmed controversy, but a reminder of how easily attention can transform uncertainty into worldwide belief, and how important it is to slow down, even when the internet is moving fast. And in the end, the truth behind viral stories like this is often far simpler than the internet makes it seem. No grand royal announcement, no confirmed global conflict, just a fast-moving digital world where attention travels faster than accuracy, and emotion often replaces evidence. But this moment leaves us with something important to think about. Because today, it wasn't just about Meghan Markle. It was about how quickly anyone can become the center of a global narrative without a single verified fact behind it. One post becomes 10. 10 becomes 1,000. And suddenly, the world is reacting to a story that may never have been real in the first place. So as the story fades from the spotlight, one question remains. How many other breaking stories online are really just echoes of something that was never confirmed? In a world driven by speed, clicks, and emotion, the real power doesn't belong to those who speak first. It belongs to those who pause long enough to ask, what is actually true? And that is where the real story begins.